what, 2006, question 3, so it's a calculator problem. The graph of the function f above shows 6 line segments, and you can see 6 line segments. And it gives the area under the curve, g of x, is defined from 0 to x of f of t dt. All right? And the first thing is find g of 4, g prime of 4, g double prime of 4. All right? And again, g of 4 is simply doing the integral from 0 to 4 of f of t dt. And again, that is simply the area of the region. So I'm going to start at 0, and I see a triangle 1 by 2. I see a triangle 1 by 2. That is beautiful because you guys agree they're equal area. So those cancel. I see a rectangle 1 by 2, which is area 2. And I see again over here a triangle that is 1 by 2. So 1 times 2 divided by 1. So for the first problem here, I add up the areas 2 and 1, right? Because the 2 red triangles cancel. And I get an answer of 3. All right? So that's simply the area under the curve. Again, an integral is always that. That didn't erase. All right? The second one is g prime. All right? G prime of that. And the first thing I want to understand over here then is that g prime of x in this case is simply, put the x in, is simply f of x. Again, the derivative of an integral, right? Fundamental theorem of calculus. So again, so for g prime of 4, I just have to read the value. The value at 4 is 0. So g prime of 4 is 0. Then g prime prime, all right, the last one, g prime prime of x is going to equal f prime of x, or the shape of the curve. So this last one at 4, I have to know the slope of this line. All right? And I see it's a rise of 2 and a run of 1, and it's downhill. So g prime prime of 4 is negative 2. All right? Pretty easy problem, 3 points. This wasn't missed on the people that turned it in. All right? They got this. So those 3. So you think about it. You got 6 points left. You take care of some of the easy there. The next one, letter B. Does G have a max, min, relative max, or relative min, or neither at x equals 1? All right, justify your solution. All right. I see, again, from the first problem, that G prime of x is equal to f of x. You guys agree? So at x equals 1, I see G prime of 1 is 0. You guys agree? And now, I am very interested, is f of x, what's happening to the sign of f of x? Because that is G prime. And we see that f of x goes from negative to positive. Right, guys? So you think about it, negative to positive, bottom and out. I got to sit, guys, I'm sorry. Negative to positive. So that is a relative minimum, so, or a local min, as we call it often, right? So, but you got to give the reason. So you group this, slide this over. So we can say, since f goes from negative to positive, a local min or a relative min, use whatever they said. I'm not going to say a relative min. I'm going to have to move the word. It's not, I have a dead spot. Relative min exists at x equals 1. All right? You have to have something, you got to have the answer that it's a relative min. That's a point. You got to call out the sign change. That's a point. And it has to be negative to positive. All right? Pretty straightforward. That's 2 points. So think about it. We're this far in, and it's 5 points. That means there's 4 points left for the letter C, the last one. Suppose that f is defined for all real numbers x and is periodic with a period length of 5. All right. The graph above shows 2 periods of f. Again, you can see the period of 5 here, right? It just keeps on repeating. Periodical function. Okay. Given that g of 5 equals 2, find g of 10. Write an equation for the line tangent to the graph at x equals 108. All right, so I got a couple things going on here. I'm going to grab my notes here. First of all, you know it's periodic in length, guys. Hopefully you realize this is repeating and that you only have to figure out 0 to 5, all right, to get g of 10. If I'm going to find g of 5, all right, if I'm going to find g of 10, oops, if I'm going to find g of 10, I'm sorry, I have to start from an initial condition, so I got to start here. And then I'm going to have an integral from 5 to 10 of f of t dt. But they told you in the problem, guys, all right, that this value here, it repeats, right? So we also know then that if it repeats on 5, what's the distance on this one? The distance on this one is also 5, right? So they're saying from g of 0 to g of 5 is 2. And then they're saying from 5 to 10. So it's really pretty easy. I don't have to actually do this integral. I can just say it's 2 plus 2. So g of 10 is 4. Okay? I suppose you could have written 2. I suppose you could have said g of 10 equals 2g of 5, right? Because it's periodic and it repeats on a period of 5. I suppose you could do that too. Either way, the answer is 4. All right? That's worth only 1 point. All right? So x of 1, the tangent line at x of 108 is the big one. All right. If we're going to do a tangent line, we need a couple pieces of information. We need a point, and we only have the x value, and we need the slope. All right? So I need g of 108 to make the point, okay? And I need g prime of 108, which is f of 108. You guys agree? To get the slope. All right? So we have to go back to the periodic nature of this problem here, guys, all right? So I start by saying, all right, g of 108. And I will slide this other one over. Oh, it's one thing. So I'm going to erase this. We'll come back to that one. G of 108, again, is going to start. I see it's periodical on sets of 5. All right, so I know I'm going to have to do this 21 times. You guys see it's 21 times 5. 21 times 5 is 105. So I'm going to do this 21 times, periodic. But then I also have to do 105 to 108 to finish this, right? Well, this we know. It's 21 times 2, right? We know that from the last problem. But now I have to get the area from 105 to 108. Well, that's the same as the area of 0 to 3. Okay? And again, if I do that, all right, I can come up here to the graph up here, and again, I see these two are the same. They cancel. And this rectangle underneath is 2. 1 by 2. So I get 42 plus 2, and I get an answer of 44 for G of 108. That is only one step of the problem, because all I know now, all right, all I know now is that I didn't grab the right stuff. All right, is that my point is 108 comma 44. All right, so now I know my point is 108 comma 44. That's going to be used in my tangent line. Now I have to find the slope. All right, so G prime of 108 is equal to f of 108. We know that from the previous part. We also know this is periodic, and we know 108 is the same as f of 3. So I erase up here so we can actually read the graph. I see f of 3 is equal to 2. You guys agree? So G prime of 108 is 2. So that's our slope. So the tangent line is simply y minus 44 equals 2 times x minus 108. And it says write an equation, so my temptation might be to move the 44 to the other side and do this. They didn't do that on the AP, but I would probably do this if you're taking the AP, just so that you have y equals. What they gave credit for, like I said, they gave 1 point for g of 10. They gave 1 point for 44 over here, g of 108. They gave 1 point for g prime of 108 being 2. And they gave 1 point for the formula, or the line, which is actually shown this one. You don't. You have to write it all down. You have to, that's why we're doing these problems. You're right. How do you know what they want? You don't. And again, we've seen it where sometimes they score the units and sometimes they don't. We've seen it where sometimes they score the steps and not the answer, or just the answer. You just have to do the problems in their entirety and just hopefully, again, you're not going to get all 6 right. The big thing is don't freak out. You know that you're not going to get all 6 right. It just happens this way. The AP is not designed to be a 90, 80, 70, 60 test, right? 66% probably is going to be great, all right? So let's keep practicing.